Hey guys, so earlier this morning I called bullshit on my congressman. Walk and I'll talk about it. Doggies are ready to head out. Put my leash over my shoulders and let's go. Okay, so if you guys followed the 2020 election, in the lead up to the election that time, there were over 200 laws changed in various blue states. Over 200 of them in about the 3 weeks leading up to the election. And these laws, many of them were, quote, passed by judges and other officials without going through the due process, the proper processes. But they stood anyway. And they were passed in such an amount of time before the election that there was no time to contest it and get them thrown out. They allowed same-day registration. You could walk up without identification. You walk up, I'm John Smith, I want to vote. Okay, here you go, Mr. Smith. There's reports of people going, jurisdiction hopping, going from one to another, registering and voting. Late voting, unverified signatures, easily, like that. Looks like it might say, Rick Foster, but okay, we'll give it a go. They have optical readers that can read and compare signatures, and you can turn down, you can make it so that a fuzzy signature is okay. Laws were passed to let's turn them down. Lots of things like that. And they all benefited, well, they didn't benefit Trump, let's put it that way. So, voting reform is a big deal right now. A bunch of politicians are talking about we got to get signatures, no mail-in ballots, stuff that's reasonable, hand counting, vote in person, maybe make it a day off kind of thing, and people make it easier to vote. And one suggestion I haven't heard that they're looking at, and this is what the suggestion I sent to my congressman yesterday or 2 days ago. I said, why don't we limit any changes to voting laws, restrict them in the run-up? You can't make any changes too close to it to challenge them and remove them, all right? We've got time between elections. Let's figure it out now. You don't have to do it in the last 3 weeks. So, yeah. And I thought that was a good idea. And I sent that idea to my congressman, email. You can easily contact your congressman. I'm going to read a description of what led up to this. Basically what I told you. Actually, no, I'm not. I basically told you everything. Explained, I laid this out. So the response I got back from him, well, I'm not going to read the whole thing. It was very long, very rah-rah, and never really addressed, the election's important and I do everything I can to make sure we have a fair and honest election. It was like 3 paragraphs that ran on like that. And at the end of the response or the suggestion that I sent to them, I also, as like a PS, I said, hey, also I've been talking with our sheriff, Mark Daniels. I'm in communication with him. And, we know the country's going to be hit, right? FBI is warning us that all the red lights are flashing. Expect Hamas-style attacks. And there's, a couple million people within our borders that think America is the great Satan. So I think we're going to be attacked. And I want to form a militia in my county to guard our schools and our soft targets, what Hamas went after. I also want to open up the post here. We have an army post right over there, about 3 miles from here. And my mountains, the right-hand part of them, there are on post. So open all the gates. If we see people coming, if we get warnings that people are headed our way. And Mexico, for me, is about 8 miles that way. You can see the mountains, not from where I'm standing, but you can see Mexico from right here. And if they come across the southern border, if we have a bit of warning, we can retreat to the post. Waive the ID requirements. Usually you got to go through, show your ID, get cleared. And now let's just throw all the gates open and let everybody run to the post. And we'll grab our guns. There's a lot of them, right? Americans have a lot of guns. A lot of us do. Grab our guns, retreat to the post, and take a strong stand right there. Protect our soft targets, and we'll outnumber them by a great amount because we're on an army base. So I doubt they would attack us. It would take a huge force to really make a move. You'd need air support and artillery, and it's not going to work. We're not going to get attacked there, I don't believe. Although Hamas, Islamic terrorists don't mind dying. See, that's another thing. They think if they die, they're definitely going to get to heaven and get their 72 virgins. So they have a religious zeal to do it. And Allah told them that the West is evil and to smite us, especially America and Israel, little Satan, big Satan. So I have a strong drive to be prepared. The Israelis were slaughtered like sheep. They weren't prepared. What would they do differently if they had been prepared? Well, we've got the gift of time. Why don't we get prepared now and be wolves instead of sheep? Come on, people, we can do this if they let us. Right now, if you form a militia, you can probably get thrown in prison. Ask the Proud Boys and the January 6 guys, and there's a couple others, Minutemen, that are cooling their heels in federal prisons because they were too patriotic. All right, well, it's time. If we're all too patriotic, a lot of us stand up and be too patriotic. They can't throw all of us in jail. It's not going to happen. So, wow, what a rant. All right, so I got back the rah-rah. I support the fair election. And I wrote back, and I believe you guys are going to like this. All right. So I said, honestly, this feels like a canned response, maybe AI. I gave a suggestion. All you should have said is, sounds interesting. Let me think about it. Not give me a rah-rah history lesson. Make me believe that someone actually read what I wrote. My glass is all scratched up on my phone. It's hard to read this. I took a screenshot of what I sent. Just respond in a conversational way, short and sweet. And then I also mentioned that I'm in communication with our sheriff and I'd like to involve my congressman. I thought you'd pay attention to that comment. I had hoped you would realize that me, Rick Foster, am a plugged-in citizen actually involved directly with leaders. But no, you make no mention of that at all. That's another reason I think this is perhaps a canned response. I'll buy you a cup of coffee if you can tell me in your words what my suggestion to you was. All right? I don't think it's going to happen. So I said I'm not impressed, but I'm still hopeful of having a real interaction with my congressman. I'm not trying to be an ass. I'm sharing how I feel. Thanks for your time, Rick Foster. What do you think, guys? Time that we start calling our politicians who work for us, represent us, to do their damn jobs. And let's close that damn border. I'm like I say, Mexico right over there, 8 miles from here. We have thousands of people crossing right across from me. They pick it up down there at the tail end, the boot end of those mountains, and they get up in the mountains and they cross through. Some of them come right through town. We have high-speed chases frequently, over 100 miles an hour right up our roads. Sheriff said there's 10 a week at least. A lot of them are like 13-year-old kids. He said it's amazing how many are just young teenagers. They steal mom and dad's car, go down and do it because they get... I've heard 3,000 to 5,000. One guy said more per head. The cartel pays to have these people brought across the border. and trafficked. They take them up to Tucson, up to Phoenix, and let them go, and they disperse throughout the country from there. So, and another thing that happens with a high-speed chaser, they tell them, pick them up here at this time, and then run like a bunny for Tucson, 100 miles an hour, more. And that gets every cop in town's attention. So while that's happening over here, well, don't look at the other side of the, over there against those mountains. That's when they're running truckloads of things across, drugs, guns, and other things that we don't want here, and humans. America is a huge consumer. I've heard we're the biggest consumer of the sex trafficking industry. I hate to say that. I don't like to think that it's real, but I believe it. Why not? We're a pretty permissive country. I'm okay, you're okay, everybody's okay. Whatever you say is good. You be you. Well, we need to we need to find the lines again, right? Now, it's easy to cross the lines. There are no lines. No lines. We need lines. And I believe that God lays out some pretty good lines. Not trying to push my religion on everybody, but I think he's a real good starting point. If he says it's a good thing to do, I think you can take his word. Most of us have that built into us anyway. We know what's good and what's not good. We blur the lines. Everybody does, right? I call this my journey of failures. I've been writing about it, talking about it lately. I realize I'm going to fail every day. But I'm saved every day too. Jesus died for that, not just one time take our sins. Every day, every sin that I've done, that I'm doing, that I'm going to do tomorrow. Don't use that as an excuse to go out and sin. Try to do better, right? But you're still going to fail every damn day. And it's okay. God says, it's okay. Welcome anyway. You're human. I made you. I know you're going to fail. So, folks, if you've not turned towards the Lord, because like me for a long time, I was just ashamed of my daily sins, nothing big, but big enough that it bothered me. I was shameful, and I turned my back on the Lord and on family and friends. Now, as a few days ago, I heard, I listened to God when he said, come on back, man. It's okay. I stepped back in to his presence, and that's good. I'm comfortable there. I'm comfortable with him now. Look him in the eye. Look myself in the eye. I think that's perhaps more important. Or maybe it's exactly the same. Spiritual issues get confusing at times, right? But, well, I believe when all this is over, when I fought my fight, I'm going to wake up in heaven. God promises me that. The Bible says that. It's true. And you can too. Like to see you there. All right. Reach out if you want to talk more. Stay tuned.